master's in journalism, and he started with the magazine as a proofreader. Mix Magazine is the world's leading publication for the recording industry right now. It has gear, technologies, articles about artists, concerts, movies. Give him a nice warm welcome. His first time here, Mr. Tom Kenny.
Is this okay? Can you hear me? I'm just here to start off with a few observations, and I talked to Andre about what, I'm not here to lecture you. You get enough of that every day. But just some observations on the audio industry itself and what I see as some of the most important trends going on right now and things you might keep in mind as you go out into the world. My background, she gave it's Indiana University, however, which was home of, when I was there was Bobby Knight and everything.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Came out of there and I didn't know anything about the recording industry. I sent my resume to 125 media outlets in the San Francisco Bay Area. I knew I wanted to be there. I geo-targeted, as you would say today, and decided I wanted to live in the San Francisco Bay Area. The founder of Mix was an Indiana University graduate. And I ended up as a proofreader, $5.50 an hour. And it was a whopping, a big surprise. No vacation, well, 2 weeks, but big surprise to enter the world. But immediately I started observing the audio industry. I don't edit in Pro Tools. I know enough to get by. But I have a unique opportunity as a journalist to sort of see every company, to walk into every studio, and it's a real advantage in that respect. One of my initial observations was this is a high technology industry that is merged with creative excellence. And it's that combination that has kept me there 20 years. We started a foundation that rewards, it's the Tech Awards, TEC, and it's technical excellence and creativity. And sort of everything we do, everything we look at, every article we evaluate, every picture we look at, every school we visit, is based on that combination. You must, when you get out in the world, you must have technical chops. And as I see you have the facilities to learn that, you have to be creative. And you can be a button pusher all your life if you want, and there's jobs for you out there, but you'll be bored very quickly. And especially in 2008, having lived through the dot-com boom, having lived through the emergence of the internet, it's wide open for creative ideas right now. Sean Fanning changed the world with Napster, and he's probably working on his next idea right now. That's a 22-year-old kid who changed our industry as dramatically as anybody has done anything. And it was an idea out of a not even really a dorm room at that point. But my initial observations was that this industry is built on technology, and some of it's 60 years old, and we revere it. We'll pay $8,000 for a microphone that cost $15 60 years ago. Imagine that in the video industry. Imagine adding distortion to a video signal. You'd be run out of town. We tend to revere that. We tend to call that art. And yet there's a couple things at odds in our industry. One of my observations immediately, you had Al Schmidt here last week, or last month. January. And I've talked with Al, I've talked with Ed Journey who's coming before. One of the problems that we face in our industry is if you've ever been in a very, very professional recording studio and heard Al pull up a string section, for instance, and listen to the playback in that room at 24-bit 96K, you haven't heard anything like it in your life. And then Al sitting there wondering, like, but the entire world's hearing it out of earbuds, compressed, got the hell compressed out of it, and they're enjoying it. But at a certain point, we got to quit fighting that. You know, there's a lot of lament. How do we get kids to listen on high-end systems? Can we get DVD audio? Can we get SACD? Well, honestly, the public has spoken, and they'd prefer convenience, portability. There will always be a certain crowd that will seek that super high-end playback environment, and it doesn't have to be at odds with bringing music out into the world. We need to accept both of them. But one of the things I'd like to talk about today is that sort of disconnect between production and distribution has changed and is sort of merging at this point right now, and they're facing the same issues. I call it how digital became virtual and where we're heading right now. Example, I mean, 1972 or 73, Lexicon came with a Delta T101 delay, something like that. First digital machine, a delay device. You had conversion, you had analog conversion in, digital. That's a piece of hardware. 1992, jumped up 20 years after that, and we start to see software invading our world. In 1992, when I was about 4 years into Mix Magazine, there were 32 workstation manufacturers that we listed in our annual directory. Companies you've never heard of, long gone. But 32 is quite a lot. Today you know Pro Tools, and some of you know Cakewalk, some of you know Apple Logic for composing, I presume, and Digital Performer. Some other workstations, but I'll bet you couldn't name 10 workstations. Our industry was built on this. At that point, you had, I mean, you're lucky to get 16-bit sound out of a workstation. True, you couldn't even get that. But there was another product that came out in that sort of digital revolution. There was a piece of hardware that you all may not be familiar with, the ADAT. Do you guys ever work with an ADAT? Anything like that? Do you know what that is? The ADAT changed the production world as much, I would say, as any piece of equipment in the last 2 decades. It was an eight-channel digital machine, about $3,500 when it came out, I believe, and and it recorded to a VHS tape. I laughed when at that point there was another editor who came back from the AES convention, and he started to describe how this product would change our industry, single-handedly overnight change our industry, and it came on VHS tape, and we laughed at him. At that point. So and he proved prophetic. Everybody in the industry knew it was an interim technology, but what it did is it gave somebody coming out of school with a credit card could go out and have 8 channels of digital. And that was the difference. That was before Pro Tools. Alesis, when they built the machine, knew that it didn't have a shelf life. They knew this. They saw hard disk coming. They saw other means of production coming. But the ADAT changed our world. It made the project. There were project studios before that. High-end producers in LA had them in their home. They had that, but they could afford a $400,000 console and a $250,000 Sony 24-track machine.
Well, that's when scorers for films start dabbling into that. Yeah. That's when a lot of guys start trying to put studios in their homes when the ADATs came out.
You get 24 channels for under $10,000
right.
of digital that matched a $250,000 Sony machine. In 1992, you can't imagine how big that was, honestly. Now we get a version 7.4 upgrade for Pro Tools. We get excited. We find out everything on the net. This was truly revolutionary. And then, of course, after ADAT, we get the rise of Pro Tools, near monopoly. And that's where we are today. Got a lot of sort of companies